Eternity is a 2025 American rom-com directed by David Freyne and stars Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and Callum Turner. The plot follows a woman who's just been reunited with both of her husbands in the afterlife and is faced with the difficult decision of choosing one of them to spend eternity with. Alright guys, sorry about all the rom-com reviews lately. It's just been kind of a coincidence, so don't worry. You're not going to see it here super often. I don't know what else to say, but hey, at the end of the day, a good movie is a good movie, and if I like something, I'll most likely review it. I also review movies I don't like, though, so don't think that everything I review is like a movie that I full on appreciate. Obviously, you've seen my scores, so I guess you wouldn't think that. But anyways. So I mostly went out to see this because I'm such an A24 dork, as I've said, a million times. And even when they let me down, I can still, sometimes have a decent time. The last A24 rom-com I reviewed, I believe, was Materialists, which was pretty lackluster, and Eternity is definitely a better film. So like Materialists, we have a love triangle here, only much more interesting. I honestly quite like the setup. And in the beginning, you get married couple Larry and Joan, played by Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen, headed to a family gathering, and before they walk in, he says to her, we have to tell them. And he's talking about Joan's terminal cancer. Very, very well done scene. A little bit sad, sure, but Larry actually doesn't have to see his wife pass away, because, I don't mean to laugh, but it is... it's made to be funny because he chokes on a pretzel at the party and he actually dies. So he dies before she does. And I'm realizing that already I'm probably making this movie sound pretty dark and depressing. But that isn't the tone of this film at all. So if you're put off by that, maybe don't worry. It just isn't like that. I mean, sure, it's emotional at times, but mostly in a good way. It's very much a drama, romantic comedy. The darker moments are often glossed over with a layer of humor. Maybe dark humor, but still, it's humor nonetheless. That's terrible that Larry dies, but he's killed by a pretzel, which is, almost a reoccurring joke in this movie. And I'm sure it sucked, that Joan had to go through all of that, in her final days, but we don't see any of that. Instead, the story focuses on Larry going to a place called the Junction, which is, basically a giant hotel that you stay at, while you're deciding what you want to do and where you want to go to spend eternity. And that's actually, where my main complaint with the movie is. I think basically, you choose a place, but you have to stay there. You can't leave. I guess it makes sense that there would be rules, but does it though? And instead of choosing a specific place, because you can do that, you can also go with a template. Like a mall, literally a world that's just a giant mall, or an island, a Paris world where the whole world is just giant Paris, a man-free world, which is funny because there's always a waiting list. I thought that, being a man myself, I actually thought that was funny. Studio 54 world, I don't know. I mean, this part actually kind of fell flat for me, minus, the joke that I highlighted a minute ago. I didn't think that it was necessarily clever or funny or interesting, really, but that's just me. I'm just one dude. So Joan actually dies 3 days after Larry, so he doesn't really have to wait long. And as Joan arrives at the Junction, she has to deal with, the fact that both of her husbands are there waiting for her. Something that she... nobody would expect this, obviously. So Luke, played by Callum Turner, was her first husband back when they were basically still kids, super young. He died serving in the Korean War. Larry was married to her for 60 years or something like that. And, they had kids together. Things weren't always perfect, but they never are. And he was a good dad. He was a good husband, and he always wanted Joan to be happy. That was his life's goal. But, seeing Luke after all these years, is obviously a whole lot to process for somebody, I would imagine. It's an interesting premise, and I like it, but for me it doesn't completely work. I think it would have made more sense if Joan had died much later than Larry, not just a couple of days. They were still together and married a week before this, literally a week ago. And I know you're supposed to look at it objectively, but I just always found myself on Larry's side. Luke's story was that he stayed at the junction for 67 years waiting for Joan. Like, he could have left like everyone else does, but he chose to stay. And you know there's going to be some sort of conflict between the two guys. And I really like the way that it was handled. Like I said, I like the movie overall, but not all of it worked for me. Some of the jokes and side characters fell really flat for me, but humor is subjective, so again, it could just be me. There was one side character that I really liked, and which I'm not surprised at all, and it's Divine Joy Randolph. This may not be the holdovers, but I was still happy to see her again. The three leads are actually all really good too. I like all three performances. I really liked Larry, though, as I've said, and I enjoyed Miles Teller's performance the most here by far. Larry, he might be a flawed guy, maybe painfully average at times, but he's a great dude. And as far as the jokes here that I thought worked, the most, all involved Larry. Like the reoccurring joke about how he married up with Joan and is, substantially less handsome than Luke. Always got a chuckle out of me. I'm laughing now just thinking about it. The movie itself looks great, super bright, vibrant colors. And there's some fun little details like how Divine Joy Randolph has a different hairstyle in every single scene. The locations and fictional universe were fine, but also not super interesting to me. And the story itself really is pretty decent, with some emotional, twists and turns in the third act, like you would expect. But they're good twists and turns. So I'm giving Eternity a 2.5 out of 4 stars. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.
Subscribe right now, please.